we had a horror icon pass just a few days ago, and
We would like we would like to send our condolences to the family and those who were close to actor Tony Todd, who died this past week. Um,
all of our
all of our
wishes.
wishes.
And he was the star of the Candyman film series. It's a film that I have been planning on watching for a very long time, and now I will watch all of them in honor of him.
He will be a very deeply missed individual, actor, person, and human being within the horror community.
Absolutely. Welcome back to RIP Sleep. You got Travis hanging out with you. Hi, everybody. And as always, my co host, Robert.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the graveyard.
Yes, welcome back to the spooky graveyard if you dare to follow us along. Tonight, we are going late into this and communing with evil forces in our conversation about Late Night with the Devil.
Boy.
So this movie came out in 2023. Robert and I actually went and saw this movie in theaters when it came out.
Wait. No, this movie released out to film festivals in 2023.
Oh,
Didn't get its
yes.
United States wide release until March 22nd of 2024.
That's what I thought. I was like, no way did we go see this last year. But
Yeah.
okay, so it got released into film festivals in 2023, came into theaters in the US in 2024, and Robert and I went and saw this in theaters. And
Yes.
I personally very much loved this movie. I really enjoyed it. Um, give a brief synopsis of it. Essentially, it is a found footage movie of a talk show from the 1970s, specifically 1977, that goes absolutely horribly wrong. It unleashed evil into the nation's living rooms because this was live broadcasted on air.
It's kind of a funny thing mentioning that this is like found footage because I feel like it's kind of like it's half of that, and we'll get into that for specific reasons. But the other half, it's its own version of like a mockumentary style thing because this thing is the scenes that are found footage are the behind the scenes aspects of this film, but on camera it's kind of like lost footage in a way. This is
Essentially,
this,
yes.
yeah.
It does like state, like when you look up the movie, it says that it's a found footage movie, but I definitely agree with you, Robert, that it is less of a found footage movie and more of like a mockumentary with found footage in it as well. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, Robert, you want to take away on starting talking about this?
I mean, I can, yes. So the best part to start around this is our central core cast of this movie, which is starred by uh, David, and I'm gonna mispronounce this last name, uh, Das Mallet,
Das Malchin.
Das Malchin. David Das Malchin is our star in this movie, played by Jack, and he plays Jack Delroy, who is a late night host of the in-universe show called the Night Owls, and it's kind of like a late night show in the same vein as like the Tonight Show with like Johnny Carson is. Um, uh, I don't watch the other late night shows that often, so I can't really
Uh,
name too many more than
the
that.
one with Jimmy Fallon, which
Yes.
Conan O'Brien show, like that kind of show is essentially what this movie is based around.
But essentially, this episode that he is filming in front of a live studio audience is taking place on Halloween night in 1977. And this is, I believe, the sixth season they're in the in universe of the show, where and because he signed a 5-year deal essentially at the beginning of this movie. You go through the opening, gives you a nice little kind of a reference to the Killing of America, a documentary that also came out in the 70s. Like the opening is 1-to-1. After you get past the 8 studio productions that worked on this movie.
Yeah, there was a lot of studio productions. When I was doing a rewatch of it, I was like, I'm sitting down and I just started up the movie while I was cooking dinner, and I was like, holy shit, there is so many studio productions that worked on this movie, which is an insane thing to think about, especially considering that it was written, directed, and edited by a pair of brothers, Cameron and Colin Carnes. Carnes. Excuse my pronunciation. That are these two brothers that are best known for Late Night with the Devil, a movie called Scare Campaign, another one called 100 Bloody Acres, as well as they were they also worked on Dark Place, a movie from 2019.
And this is their 5th and most recent directorial film that they have released. I haven't seen anything else that they're working on currently yet. But they really knew what they were doing in the aesthetic of like the talk shows. Because you can see that they had a lot of inspiration. When I was doing my research, you could tell that they took a lot of inspiration specifically from that period of time in the colors, the way the stage and the multi-camera setup was working in the film. It was almost 1-to-1, even with the lighting in my research. The only thing that kind of wasn't 1-to-1 was that they were using digital cameras for this film, which kind of surprised me. But they were using a lot of color correction in post-production to get that real like 70s TV look. It turned out very well.
Oh, absolutely. So with I'm just going to refer to him as David because I feel like that's going to be the easiest way to refer to him because I don't want to keep butchering his name over and over again. So along with David being the star of the show, he brings on this group of multiple different people to essentially have different scary aspects of a Halloween special to try to like push his viewer ratings up, because his whole goal is to be like number one in the charts, essentially.
Yeah, because and this episode is specifically taking place during what's it called, Chop Week, Cutting Week,
Sweep Week.
Sweep Week, yeah, where if you don't succeed around this week time, this is where the shows start getting like canceled, just cut off, and he's just trying to keep those numbers boosted up. So he's bringing on people that first of which is the amazing Chris Stew.
Yes.
And I can just say I admire that man's drip.
Oh, absolutely. He has amazing drip. Oh my God. I wish we got to see more of him, if I'm going to be completely honest. But
yeah,
some untimely things happen.
Yeah. What do you call those shirts? I don't know what the exact name for him is, but he's wearing the at first when he came out, when I first watched the movie, in my memory, I thought he was wearing like the same like top that a priest would wear, because it had the same like white little tag right at the middle of the neck area.
Yeah.
But his is gold. So at first I was like, this man is really just flexing out on stage right now.
I'm trying to look to see what kind of shirt he was wearing, but I'm not really seeing anything. I mean, like Robert's 100% right. His shirt, oh, that looks good. The gold with the little pop of white, it works for him. It looks good.
But he's played by Faisal Bazi, which I haven't seen too much work with him before outside of this movie, but he did play in he voiced a character in Peter Rabbit. And that's one thing that I was standing out because I used to watch that movie quite a bit with my little nephew, and he quite liked that one. So that's where I think he had kind of put on that same voice too for that movie, and it was quite kind of trying to put that together. Is
Yeah,
where he caught me on for watching that movie. Um,
absolutely. So then the next person that the character's name is Jack Delroy brings on is Carmichael Haig, who is played by Ian Bliss, who once again I gotta say has really good drip. He does. Like his suit is nice. It
if
looks
only if only the collar of the one under the like orange undershirt wasn't so pointy, but I guess
wasn't
that was in
so
fashion at the
big.
time. Like it is pointy as all hell. Like you ever seen that Family Guy fucking gag where they're walking into the club and they're taking place like in the 70s and 80s and they like literally cut off people's heads because of how sharp the collars are.
Yes, and
That's all
that's
I could
pretty
think of
much
when
what it
seeing it.
is. Because like when you look at it, his shirt essentially like the collar on on his undershirt goes to the edge of his shoulders. It is so long and so large, but like
Whoa.
honestly, the drip is good.
Yeah.
It
And before
looks good.
it does look good and it really fits the character that he's going for.
Oh,
He he
absolutely.
he himself is eccentric in his own way, but on the opposite side of the spectrum compared to Christu. And I want to go a little bit of the background on the inspiration for his character, um, which was based on James Randi, spelled DI for the last name. And he was a Canadian American stage magician, author, and a prominent skeptic. And the character that the big thing they based off that character is he also in real life had a foundation where he would investigate into people who made like supernatural claims, and he would offer a reward which was never paid out.
Yeah,
This
if
man
you can
went
prove it.
undefeated.
Oh yeah,
This James Randi in life went undefeated against these the people who assumed that, or who
claimed.
spoke they had supernatural abilities.
Yeah.
And I believe the real name for it was actually the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. He co-founded it. I couldn't see who else he founded it with, but the acronym was CSI.
Nice. Very nice. I'm trying to remember what the in universe for Late Night with the Devil, what the name of the foundation that Carmichael had.
That's a good question, and I probably should have wrote that down in my notes here, but I did not. But while you can look for it, I can give a bit more background information.
Yeah, go for it.
His stage persona at the time was called the Amazing Randy, and around in his 60s is when he shifted his focus from being a stage magician into becoming the paranormal investigator. He then retired at around 87. Once again, he was an undefeated man, and he was actually on a Australian late night show with a character that was very heavily inspired for the character of Jack, and you kind of see some hints and clues to it in the scene where you see Jack start kind of arguing with Carmichael, and kind of again like he's more defensive on the side of the people who have the claims, and he's like basically telling Carmichael, like, "Hey, shut the hell up."
Essentially.
What do you think? We just saw someone float right 3 feet in front of us. How the hell can you disprove that?
I mean, to be fair, he did try like hell to disprove it. And honestly, the scene where he goes to disprove it is good. I really enjoy that scene.
Yeah, it's probably, I want to say it's my favorite scene actually in that movie.
Honestly, I think I'm right there with you cuz that part was practical effects as well as puppetry that was being used to like convey and like show that aspect of this, and it was just such a creepy and eerie way to do it, and I loved it.
Yeah. It was, and it was all one studio that did quite a bit of those practical effects, and it was done by a company named Sharp FX. So they did all the worms in that scene. They did the popping veins on Christu's head. They did the levitation scene, all the makeup for Lily when she was showing off her Mr. Wriggles.
Yep. Mr. Wriggles.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
God.
all that the FX and the special effects, the practical effects in this movie were very well done for a movie's budget, which was, I believe, I can't really tell you how much this was. I know it made its money back in the box office, and it came very close to matching what Terrifier 2 made in the box office. I know because it was around like that 15 million area of how much money it brought in.
Yeah, I would say that it's pretty much right on that. The way that it is portrayed, and like the just like this movie got a really big um uh what is the word that I'm looking for? Response.
Response.
It got a
Okay.
really big response because the people that loved it, they absolutely loved it.
Yes.
Like the movie
I mean,
is
to be fair,
good.
this movie kind of got a lot of free marketing at when it was like the week leading up to before its like entire US release, because I feel like that's something that they're addressed right now is there was quite a bit of a controversy over the use of AI in this film.
Oh, absolutely.
For those who don't know, AI was used to generate 3 images in this film, and they were images that you would see like "We'll be right back" and "Welcome back" type of things that you would see before and after commercial breaks. But the directors both went on saying that it wasn't just we put this into AI usage and just slapped it in the movie. They actually had a graphic designer on the team and who's credited with fixing and like trying to polish up those images. Now there's a lot of faults that you can still see in this, like the skeleton and its hands are one of its hands like disformed, like fingers are merging into each other still.
Yeah.
And I understand where people's problem is going to be with movies and other entertainment industries using AI. And it's a very slippery slope because if we accept this, what will happen when other bigger companies will start using AI? But at the same time, this didn't harm the movie in any way. It didn't take any value away from it. It didn't fully replace someone's position in this movie. And instead, I don't think it enhanced anything. It was kind of a neutral usage.
Yeah, I would say
Eh,
that it was very much a neutral usage for this because it's not like um they just like you said, it's not like they just completely like put it all through AI and then just slapped it in.
yeah.
They still had somebody that went in, edited the images that were generated and then and then put those in, and even then, like you stated, you can still see that there's minor details that are still a little wonky and a little messed up, but overall I feel like it was used very tastefully.
And at the same time, it's one of those things where it could have been a double-edged sword because this is an indie film. There was no guarantee that this thing was going to make any money, and it's more of a surprise that for this being the 5th movie directed by 2 brothers, that they got someone like David on this, and they got people like Laura Gordon on this as well. It's kind of a surprise because they're not like big names actors, but David has played the Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad. He's worked with people like James Gunn, John Cena, and all that. He has at least a little bit of rubbing power.
Yeah, and I am even Laura Gordon, who was in Saw 5, she was in Undertow. I don't really know what that one is. She was in a bunch of different things, and like she knows people too. She has to,
Yeah.
especially for being in Saw 5. I mean, there
Yeah.
was a fair amount of like notable people in Saw 5, if I remember correctly.
Because at least within like the horror community, like people like watch quite a lot of people who are like really into horror. They're gonna watch multiple films, and faces are gonna become recognizable for people who consistently play in horror movies.
Absolutely.
And Laura is one of them. I feel like that I recognized her right off the bat because she was the first kill inside of Saw 5.
Yep.
She was the first one to get killed in that movie. And when it comes to David, like I said, he played in the Suicide Squad. He played in
Dune Part 1. He was in Oppenheimer. He was in Batman. He voices characters in video games too. Like he voiced Vic Sage in the Batman Arkham Shadow game, which literally just came out. Like,
and a bit of a side tangent before we continue on that. Did you see that he's going to be playing Mr. 3 in the live action One Piece?
I didn't, but really? Oh my god, that will be so good. That'll be so good. Robert and I are anime nerds. We can own that. But oh my god, that I still haven't watched the live action One Piece. I'm planning on watching it at some point, but still, that's good. I enjoy that.
So I can already see him with the hair already.
Oh,
I can already
absolutely.
see it fitting.
Absolutely. So
back on
track. So we brought up Laura Gordon. Laura Gordon plays June Ross Mitchell. How did they put this? She is a like psychotherapist, pretty much.
Yeah, it was a psychotherapist, I believe.
Yeah, a parapsychologist and an author. That's what it is. Yeah. So essentially, she was studying this cult that was going on and writing a book about it. And a big like gun war happened between this cult and the police. And then the house got burnt down, and there was one survivor, a little girl that goes by the name of Lily. Lily is played by Ingrid Torelli. I think that's how you would pronounce it. And honestly, she does a great job at being she's like the little girl Lily. She is possessed by a demon, and the demon in her mind, what she calls the demon is Mr. Wriggles, which is honestly a very funny like thing to call a demon that's living inside of you. But she does such a great job of portraying this like little innocent girl, but she's possessed, and you can tell there's something underlying that is creepy, and it's like it makes you unsettled. Like the first time that she's brought out and she just stares dead at the camera, it is just a nerving thing.
And that's one thing I really liked about this movie too, is usually when we see like creepy kids in movies, they're like kind of on the nose creepy, you know? Whereas with the Lily in this movie, she's more outgoing, she's smiling bright, she's playing innocent, but she's playing innocent to a point where you feel like it's wrong.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. And that's like her whole thing, and I completely agree with that. She does it so well. She seems so innocent and like nice that it's creepy and eerie and wrong, and something is going to happen that is going to blow this off the rails. And she does it in such a great way. Ingrid Torelli is a great actor in that sense. I haven't seen her in any other things, but just from watching her in Late Night with the Devil, I really enjoyed watching it because it's creepy, it's eerie, it's something that sticks with me.
I can't wait to see what else she's going to do within the horror genre.
Oh, me too. I'm extremely excited for that.
I realized that we just talked over someone too, because Gus was by far my favorite fucking character.
Oh, I was saving the best for last. That's why I didn't bring him up yet. Gus was a great character.
Because this entire movie has a small cast, and I think he's like the last one we're forgetting to mention and bring on. That man this was his very first film, by the way. Like this is the very first thing this man has acted in, like film wise. He was a Reese Aturi. Aturi. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I know we're small, but if you somehow listen to this, I'm sorry.
But no,
But
he's like in this movie that is based around chaos and eeriness and scary, creepy shit. He adds such a great level of like calming comedy to it, to me, that I just loved his character.
yeah, he that and there's multiple times in the film where he's like questioning like I should like GTFO. Like I can't I shouldn't be here. I should get out. And then we have a character like was the character's name Fisk? The guy that had the long curly hair. He was the producer on the show.
I think his name was Leo.
Was it Leo?
Yeah, Leo Fisk.
Okay. So either way, he was the fucking screwball junkie, not junkie, but the dick bag producer that you would find probably I'm surprised there wasn't a scene of him just like huffing or snorting coke right off the bat, like because it's more believable if his character was doing that.
Honestly, I could have 100% seen this character doing it. But like
Yeah.
the way that like the fact that Gus literally at one point he's like half of the crew and I want to leave. And essentially Leo just looks at him and goes, "Suck it the fuck up, pussy. You'll be fine."
Essentially, he threatens the man's job.
Yeah. And but it's so good. Like uh Reese, he played Gus's character so well. He is honestly like he is extremely rememberable in a in a movie with a very small cast that he's not like he's a main character, but he's like one of the side main characters.
Yeah, he's a very strong supporting lead character.
But
Not lead
like
character,
he is
but a supporting character.
like honestly to me he's more rememberable to me than Madeline, Jack's wife that died, that like
Yeah.
we see her consistently, they talk about her regularly, but like to me Gus is just more rememberable than her.
That is fair. That is very fair. I just think that, to be fair, we get to see him with Minnie or Maddie. She was talked about. We don't get to really see her because she's in the opening, and then spoiler warnings. We see her ghost later on throughout in the film.
Yes.
So she's kind of there. She's kind of only really there for like the first act and like end a second into the third.
Yeah. But
So that's a big reason why Gus is probably more memorable. And again, this is this man's first feature length film, and I think one thing that really helped him is because he was a improv actor. He is like,
oh yeah. But
and you could tell that there's like more genuine like lines that don't feel written that come out of him.
oh, absolutely. A lot of his dialogue, it seems very natural and cohesive. Not like forced or not written beforehand. It feels very natural and very impromptu. I feel like there is one other thing that we forgot to talk about, but we can jump back to it quick, and it's not really going to affect anything. So, in this universe, even in this movie's universe, and even in our world, there's a bunch of rumors, speculation on secret societies, the Illuminati, that kind of stuff, which we're not going to dive into because that's a whole nother idea. But in this universe, they essentially have the same thing, and they have this like secret camp that is promoted as like a retreat for rich people. But in this world, yes, rich men to be specifically.
This is the 70s. Come on, man.
Yeah, rich men. Sorry, forgot we were talking about the 70s. But so essentially, David went to this camp. Jack did. Jack Delroy.
Jack went to this camp.
He went to this camp, and there's like speculations of like sacrifices and
yeah,
witchcraft essentially to like
yeah,
make yourself more popular and more successful.
real ritualistic behavior.
Yes. Although I do
Um,
have to say, above everything else, the name of the place is pretty cool. I would love to go to a place called the Grove.
the Grove. And when it comes to something that we're talking about that's in reality, this is almost a one-to-one version in universe of the Bohemian Grove.
Yes.
And I got some simple background information on that. The Bohemian Grove is a 2,700 acre campground in Monte Rio, California. It was founded in 1878, and it's basically a giant private gentleman's club. And the club itself is known as the Bohemian Club. They have basically in mid-summer, like July, like June or July, they have a Bohemian Grove host more than a 2 week encampment of some of the most prominent men in the world. And this is like politicians, actors, uh, anybody that would essentially have some sort of
Influence.
fame, influence, power. If this is the 70s, they're white. They're in there.
Yeah. Yes. Going back to the 70s, if you're there, you're more than likely Caucasian. That's just the easiest way to put it. Times were a lot different in the 70s.
Yeah. And that's the background on that. You could do more research on your own about this when you get back or on your own time. But like one more thing about this, and I just find it to be kind of funny. In 2000, the year 2000, Alex Jones snuck in to the Bohemian Grove with a cameraman, and they basically filmed a ceremony there.
Yeah.
And this is what got Alex Jones popular, and I find this fucking hilarious.
I mean, it is. It's funny as hell that is what made Alex Jones popular.
Because we kind of see some video film like in the movie. They kind of take some inspiration of the ceremony from what Alex Jones like took when he was there.
Yeah, but like Alex Jones is like nowadays he's a huge fucking person. Like he
not
is
for good reasons.
No, not for good reasons. Not for good reasons at all. But he is a very well-known person. But like the scene that they show in the beginning of like the footage inside of the Grove of like ceremonies happening, the biggest thing that I can't get over is like when I think of like that kind of stuff, like elites having weird ceremony sacrifice type things, I think of like obviously them having masks on and like that kind of stuff. But the dude that is like heading the ceremony at the beginning of this literally just has a giant owl head on.
Yeah.
And I find that really funny.
Not only that, but the noises you hear too are supposed to be like imitations of owls.
Yeah.
And it's weird. But that ceremony that we see at first, that was it was the cremation of care ceremony that Alex Jones, that was based on that. That's what the ceremony or what Alex Jones was pushing out as like a ritual sacrifice.
I feel like that's so weird.
It is very weird. And other things that were kind of referenced to the real Bohemian Grove was the skeleton dude in the crowd. Because in January of 2002, a man named Richard McClaslin, I think that's his name, was arrested after his nighttime infiltration of the Bohemian Grove, where he set several fires and he was heavily armed while wearing a skull mask and outfit. And he was calling himself the Phantom Patriot.
Which is a great nod to that. It's very like it's such a specific thing that if you're not really paying attention, you will miss it. Type thing.
To be fair, I thought there was gonna be like, the devil's in the crowd when I first watched this movie, and I was like, it's a fucking skeleton or it's Gus. I'm not having any other recommendation. It has to be these two. One of these two.
Honestly, if it was all of a sudden like Gus was the one that was the devil. I think that would be great. I think it would be really funny, if I'm gonna
It
be
would have been
honest.
hilarious. It would have been hilarious.
So
What?
we've talked about the people. We've talked about, everything else. I feel like we should talk about the deaths in this movie. It
Yes.
is, it's something that we definitely have to talk about. In total, there are 15 deaths in this movie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8. 9 of them are, or 10 of them are not on screen.
Okay, I was gonna say like this can't be like on screen
Yeah.
because the first death is that we see, which is considered is the off-screen death of Jack's wife.
Yes.
She dies from She dies from cancer. She died, and she was never a smoker. The movie wants to point that out to you at the very beginning of this
Yeah,
film.
she
That she
died.
dies
She got
lung
diagnosed with
cancer.
terminal lung cancer,
Yes, and she was never a smoker.
and that was announced
After
6 minutes into the movie.
yes, after that, the next death I believe is Christu's. Correct?
No,
No.
that is not true. So the next one after that is the cultists. The 8 cultists that are reported dying in the fire, as well as Sandor Dabo. I think that's how you would pronounce that. The head of this cult where Lily was, also burned in a fire. That was all. They're all reported in the like little shot film thing, when they're talking about. Wait, no, this is wrong because Christu did die before that.
Yeah, he had to have died because they didn't introduce Lily and
And
them
June
till
until
after.
after. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that is definitely the case. I don't know why this is written wrong, but yes, he is. So Christu is the next one that dies. He has a psychic overload, as it is stated. Basically, he has a brain hemorrhage on his way to the hospital after having a
Yeah.
psychic overload with
I-
allegedly Jack's wife.
At this point, I don't think it's allegedly. The
I
movie's
don't
kind of.
think that it was Jack's wife. I think that it might have been Mr. Wriggles.
I think the movie like blur. Yeah, I think the movie kind of blurs the line because you don't get too much of a thing as if Mr. Wriggles is the one ghost, or if also Minnie is there. Minnie is obviously there because Christu makes the he makes the connection with her at the very end, causing his eyes to roll, which is another first thing that I thought that was really well done for special effects.
Oh, absolutely.
We saw his veins pulsing, and then he goes on. After that, he goes on to be very visibly uncomfortable,
And
continuing
like
his
looking
portion of
like
the
he
interview.
looks sick. Like he looks like he is
Yes.
getting really sick after he communes with Minnie
Yeah.
right before they cut to a commercial.
Yes. And speaking of which, another thing that they cut to commercial, I feel like it was a reference to The Exorcist
Oh, it most
Because-
definitely was.
with the projectile vomiting scene directly at the camera. I feel like that. Oh, there's quite a few. There's that, and there's another scene that was a really well done reference to The Exorcist.
Yeah.
When and then after Christy was taken off, we hear the ambulance sirens go off in the background. Really nice touch that they did there. The fact that they could still be heard even in the studio,
I completely
and it
agree.
causes Jack to stop for a moment and
And
kinda
like question
disconnect.
what he's doing, whereas
Yeah,
and like even Gus is like, questioning it, but then they go back on, and at the next commercial is when Leo tells him that Christu died. He hemorrhaged in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
The way he put it though, I thought was kind of funny. He was like he was just bleeding inside from everywhere. So this man, not only was it a hemorrhage or in the brain, it was kind of like everything inside of him.
Yeah. It was It was a
internal
very
bleeding.
descriptive but not descriptive way of telling us that he had a brain hemorrhage.
And yeah, and telling us how someone died so horrifically was given to the best character to do it with Fist as un what's the word I'm looking for? He's so disconnected from,
Emotionless.
yeah, emotionless. The one of the best emotionless characters to give that line to worked so well for it.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like that was like, even though we didn't get to see Chris Stew officially die, kind of wish we did, but
We got
like
to see the
obviously,
we got
like, I
the build
understand
up
it.
and then the description, and I
Yes.
feel like leaving it up to the imagination
Yeah, it's one of those
is
things where,
better.
like, I kind of wish that I could have seen it because I love gore in movies, but at the
Yeah,
same time, like, the what my brain imagined, I don't think could live. I don't think what they would come up with could live up to what my brain imagined, because it was really dark.
yeah, yeah,
So then after Chris Stew, we have all the cultists that all burned in
yep,
the fire, and we get that
yeah.
reported to us.
Do
Uh,
you remember what the lead cultist's name was too? At least his last name?
Adabu,
Diabo.
Diabo, whatever. I don't know how to
Diabo.
pronounce that.
And he's him and himself as a character is a reference to the uh Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan.
Oh, I did not know that. But that's
Yeah, they
that's
got
kind of interesting, actually.
like if you look up a picture of Anton LaVey and pull a picture up of Diabo together, they really went in to like hammer that nail in the look.
DeBay. I can't.
Anton LaVey,
Anton
Levey.
Love.
Yeah.
I'm getting. Oh, he was an author and a musician.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. What the hell? Is it bad that
Yeah.
I kind of want to listen to his music? Like, just to
Next
see what it
time.
is? Like,
Next time we'll give you a review.
yeah, we'll listen to a little bit of the music just so we can kind of that sounds really bad. This dude is a Satanist. Anyways, jumping to the next death. The next death, I feel like we got to talk about something else before we jump into the next death.
Yeah, because there's quite a bit of time in
Yeah,
between
between them. So,
between the Satanists and that.
the once we get Lily and June out onto stage, um, to discuss what is going on with Lily and all of this stuff about the demon that lives inside of her. Um, we cut to a commercial, and essentially June is telling Jack that this can't happen. It is a bad
Hmm.
idea. She's losing control. She's being more like aggressive, susceptible to Mr. Wriggles and whatnot. Um,
It's not a
and
controlled environment is a big thing they really do
yes,
there.
and that it wasn't controlled. So then we cut back, and Lily is like all about it. She's like, let's do it. I can control it. I can do this. Like, Jack is feeding into her,
Yeah,
which is
Jack.
not
You can
good.
definitely tell. You can definitely tell Jack. His biggest flaw is he's less concerned for the human life around him, and he's more concerned about making sure that he gets viewers and gets renewed. Because the big thing about his motivations is he's trying to be the number one talk late night show.
Yes, which, that definitely spins into a bunch of stuff. So then we get our first communication with Mr. Wriggles, where he says some choice things to Jack
Speaking
and to everybody else.
Speaking of which, the choice things that when she's like saying to Dune, another nice little touch because the movie being rated R avoided like profanities and the onset scenes because it's mimicking the fact that they couldn't swear on TV or else they get hit with that big old fine button.
Yep.
And when Lily is singing her song, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fuck each other's brains out.
Yep.
They don't catch the fuck bleep at the first time around, but then they're prepared for it at the second time and they do bleep it.
Yep, which is a very, very nice
there.
touch. I completely agree with you, and I wanted to say something about that, so I'm really glad that you brought that up. And also, you saying that, they hit that big fine button. We could never have a TV show, Robert. We fucking swear all the time.
Fuck.
Hey, calm down there.
That's with a bad area.
So we get through that, and Lily takes back control, essentially, and Carmichael is basically like, that's bullshit. It's fake. This is not real. You can't tell me that I'm wrong, essentially. Which then spawns in, honestly, in my opinion, one of the best scenes in the entire movie.
Yes. The hypnosis scene where my poor man Gus gets pulled into it. He didn't want it. And Carmichael's like, you're volunteering.
Yeah, and Jack was all about it. He's like, "Good luck. Thank you for volunteering, Gus." And he's like, "Why the fuck would you do this to me?" Like, the look on his face says that.
And, Jack's like trying to give you got 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then essentially Carmichael, he mass hypnotized almost the entire audience. Gus, Jack.
He didn't.
June.
He did not.
He didn't.
Lily.
No, he didn't, and that's something that I wanted to bring up as well. Because when he's like hypnotizes everybody, basically he makes Gus feel like there are worms inside of his body because he has a fear of worms, and he like rips open his stomach, and worms start like spilling out, and a giant worm comes out of his eye. And the whole time, the audience, Jack, June, they're freaking out. They're like, "What the hell is going on?" Because they're seeing this. But Lily is in the back laughing, asking, why is Mr. Gus acting so silly?
Yeah. And going back to the practical effects in this movie, them doing this is nothing in this scene was really CGI. You could tell that there's a one moment when he's ripping open his gut, you could tell that it was like a full body model they made for him.
Yep.
And that it just had the actor's arms going through and his head was through it, and he was ripping open the gut. You could tell that, and then they kind of went for that old school, like, I'm not sure what they did for it, but when the giant worm busts out of his eye,
honestly, that's a puppet.
Yeah, it was an animatronic actually.
Yeah, so the way that they did that is they essentially made a fake head of Gus, and made it so it was rigged so that the worm could basically peel out of his eye, and like the flesh would like open up. And honestly, that looks so good. It looked amazing. But then again, I'm also just a sucker for practical effects.
Yeah, I love that quite a bit. That scene was very, very nice. And the subtle touch of Carmichael acting like he lost control of the situation, because he was like snapping, oh no, what's going on?
This wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to go that far. Yeah, it's such a subtle touch, but it's so nice. It's so nicely done.
He says his line at the end there, which is a foreshadowing line too to the ending of the film, where he says the line about dreamer awake.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact line, but I know exactly what you're talking about. So then, we get the whole give us a playback of it to prove that wasn't real. And we see another very funny scene of Gus doing everything that he did with the worms coming out of his body, but no worms. So he just looks like a crazy person that's like unbuttoning his shirt, taking his jacket off, his tie, and like pulling at his stomach, like trying to get these worms out and freaking out about it.
Yes.
And the entire reason that they did this was because Carmichael stated cameras don't lie.
Yes. and that sparks Jack to pull up the.
No, it sparked Lily too, because
Oh, that's correct.
Carmichael believes that Lily and June were lying. So Lily then says to Jack, cameras don't lie, so why not roll back the tapes when Mr. Wriggles was in control?
Yes.
Which, to be fair, is like, it's interesting that she thought of that, and that's kind of where it slips for me, and where I kind of feel like I don't know if she is fully in control at the moment.
Yes. But at the same time, with that scene, when they're going through frame by frame, because I was doing this myself when watching the movie, to go like I was like I watched it on my computer and I was trying to get frame by frame when the glitches were happening in scenes, and I don't think there was any other one that I saw beforehand that was actually doing it. But when they're going frame by frame on Lily's summoning of Wriggles, uh, the entire thing that Minnie shows up in the footage, Jack's wife. When I did it myself, when he like first says, like before he says go back and show it, Minnie's face shows up on the back of Lily's head.
Yeah.
And then when they re-show it, I don't know why they went for this touch, because I like the idea of it being on the back of Lily's head, kind of give you an extra bit of like, oh, is Mr. Wriggles actually Lily, or is Mr. Wriggles actually Minnie, and not a subservient of Baraxis? Was that it?
I believe so, yes. I believe it was called Baraxis.
And but then when they re-showed it, it was, I think they did it because they wanted that shot of her hand on Jack's shoulder. But they kind of do like, it looked like the Force ghosts from the original, like the remastered versions of the original trilogy in Star Wars. They didn't.
Yeah,
It didn't look good.
No, it really didn't. The demon's name is Abraxas, not Braxis. Yeah, Abraxas. Abraxas.
Yeah, but it's actually a servant of that, because that's what June's correction was to everything. Is it's a servant of Abraxas.
So that's what June states. But the thing that I'm looking at right now, it's like the exact wording of it is the demon in the movie Late Night with the Devil is named Abraxas. In the book of The Conversation with the Devil, the demon is referred to as Mr. Wriggles. So I believe that Lily and June believe that Mr. Wriggles is a servant of Abraxas, but I think that it is actually Abraxas that has taken control.
Yeah, that's fair. June did say that it thrives off of our confusion.
That is, yeah.
Yeah. But that scene there was just the one. That's the one scene and one choice I think I saw in the film. Was like, why did they go with that?
Yeah, and I completely agree with it. So after we get the shot for shot of Lily's summoning of Mr. Wriggles and seeing that nothing changes, Carmichael starts, arguing and complaining and fighting, and it causes Mr. Wriggles to take control of Lily. Which, there's a few things at this part that, it makes me question things. Why did they I understand that they did use special effects instead of practical effects for certain things, like digital visual effects. But the switch to the digital visual effects for when Lily gets fully taken over by Mr. Wriggles is so abrupt.
I actually quite enjoyed that.
I do. I enjoyed it, but I feel like it was like, that is one of the other spots in the movie that I'm like, like I like it. I enjoyed it. But that one spot, I feel like it's almost a little too much, in my personal opinion.
I think it's kind of a build up, because we kind of everything was otherworldly in its practical effects, but now it's kind of like this is the finale of the film where you kind of you're going big with not the truest form of the demon in this case. You're kind of showing off its manipulation abilities, and to get that effect, you can't really do that practically. And they did about as practical as you can, because in the behind the scenes when I was watching, it was set up with a mold of the actress's head for Lily split in half, and then they had it was either her or the different actor wearing a green screen mask over it. So the head splitting itself was practical. It was the lightning and everything else that was done digitally.
Yes, the inside.
Because you can't without possibly killing your actor for only getting a few frames of electricity. I don't think you can't really do that.
Oh yeah, and I completely agree with it. I really do. But then we go into another one of Gus's monumental moments of him grabbing the little cross that is around his neck and holding it up facing the demon, like basically being like the power of Christ compels you type shit.
Yeah.
Like trying to get the demon to go away.
Word for word. The power of Christ compels you.
And then sadly the demon spins his head around, snapping his neck. Another nod to The Exorcist.
Not only that, it's also a nod to the line that Gus said right before the hypnotism scene when he said, "My wife likes the way my head sits on my shoulders."
Yeah, and then
Carmichael responds with, "Don't worry, I plan on making everybody's head spin."
Yep, which is such a great little touch in my personal opinion. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah. Then June steps in to start chanting the scripture with her necklace to fight back against the demon. But that leads her to what I thought was going to be a boring kill in the movie, where I thought she was just going to get hung up by it. But no, the necklace, without breaking somehow, slits her throat.
Yep. Very, very good kill. I really enjoyed that one. Then we have Carmichael, who is starting to literally freak the fuck out. Because he's like, oh my god, I was wrong. It's real. And essentially, Mr. Wriggles lights him on fire from the inside, melting him away.
Yeah, and there's two references there that was foreshadowed early in the movie as well. Because Jack says, I have a feeling we might just see the check come out again later tonight. And we don't see it at all until he pulls it out to offer it to the devil. And then Carmichael also says somewhere early in the movie about like candles and wax.
Yep.
What happens to him? He gets essentially burnt like a candle.
Yeah, that's essentially it. And then we go through in like a very trippy scene of Jack essentially being like pulled into his own mind, essentially, from what I can tell.
It was a hallucination, and I find it funny because shit starts going crazy when Jack starts living life in 16:9 aspect ratio.
Yes. But so like we see him like losing his mind, having a hallucination, going through all these different things at the Grove, seeing his wife, and like different parts of his game show, and to the point where he literally starts breaking down but can still see the cameras, and he's just telling people, like he's literally just saying to the audience, stop watching, turn your TVs off, stop, make it stop.
And that's a full 180 to what his motivations are. He wanted people watching, and then at the end here he wants people to stop. He wants people to turn off the show because he thinks it's going to save him.
Yep, and it's an insane parallel to what his whole motivation is. But then we have him sitting with his wife on her deathbed, and she essentially asks him to use the ritualistic dagger from earlier in the movie, which is kind of another foreshadow, because I'm pretty sure earlier in the movie Jack literally says, like, that looks extremely sharp, we should stay
Yeah.
away from that.
I don't remember what he says about it, but he does use the knife to help get Lily out of the chair after the demon summoning, because he's like
Yes.
kind of cutting her restraints off with it. But I guess it could be kind of a foreshadowing because on his what in his mind, watching his wife die again, she asks him to end her misery
To assist.
and yeah, and to use the demonic blade, and he follows through with it, but it then turns out that he didn't stab his wife, he actually stabbed and killed Lily,
Yep.
which, to be fair, I feel like maybe my theory on this is that Minnie didn't want shit to go down like this, and then when Abraxas came in, it was like, okay, I can't let this happen anymore. And she kind of was like the one doing the things to Jack's mind that would cause him to stab Lily.
Yeah, I honestly can understand that theory, because, like, Abraxas, Mr. Wriggles, Lily, whatever you want to say, is in control, or their name is. Um, like, if you think that they're the ones controlling him, then why would they make him stab themselves?
Because there's enough video, like, Jack's going to be crazy. He's scarred for life now.
Yeah,
There's enough video evidence out there to show him. They're like, hey, demons are real. This guy did everybody who's left alive a favor.
yeah. Um,
And I think at the same time, Minnie's not there to like fully save and help Jack, because in death she kind of like learns that his attachment to the Grove, Jack's attachment to the Grove, which helped him gain fame for his show, was he signed the deal with the in universe's version of ABC, which I think was like UBC,
yeah, I think it was UBC.
and during his signing, and earlier in the movie and at the end when they recreate it, interview asks Jack, "What did you have to sell, or what did you have to do to get this?" And the president of the television company says, "Jack's biggest sacrifice has yet to come."
Yeah, honestly,
And
I believe that it was 100% like he sold away his wife
I like to think of
for
it
his
as
popularity.
maybe he was promised it, like a monkey's paw situation. He was promised the fame and the success, but something had to be given in exchange. He just didn't know what was going to be taken.
Yeah, and that's something that I can agree with as well. I feel like he didn't know, especially considering, like, in the beginning when they're talking about, Jack and Madeline, it is so heavily like, literally it's stated Madeline was his muse. She is what, got him out of bed every day and made him continue forward and continue on.
Yeah.
But then
And he
after
kind
her
of,
death, not even just a month later, he comes back to his show immediately.
yeah. I like to think that as like he's filling the void, like the hole
Oh,
that was left because of her being gone there by going back to the show. And in going back, he kind of lost sight of what was more important over the views and everything.
yeah. And I completely agree with that as well. I feel like it was definitely, a he lost sight of who he was, what he was doing, the importance of things. I definitely feel like that is the case. So,
Yeah. It's kind of the horror version of Melancholy.
pretty much. So that pretty much. Then we don't know what happens to Jack. His fate is unknown. Uh,
There's sirens in the background, but I think he has enough evidence if he's not total batshit crazy by the time the cops arrive. He was spouting the same chant that he heard Carmichael say to awaken uh, Gus at the end there. And that's where I was alluding to earlier with that another callback and another foreshadowing that movie did. You know.
Yes. Let's see. Da-da-da-da-da. He actually had a connection to the demon possessing Lily.
Yes, Lily, when she was possessed, she looked over to Jack and she says something along the lines of that we've met before within the tall trees. And Jack was reasonably confused because he wasn't sure what even the demon was talking about.
Yep.
He probably was alluded. He probably knew like the tall trees. When the fuck did I meet a devil in the tall trees?
Yep, and I'm like the reason that I brought that up is because I'm looking up if there's like theories or an idea or something that is canon of what happened to him. But from what I can see, there is no canon thing of what happened to Jack at the end of the movie. Like after the end of the movie, because obviously we know like what happened because we saw it, but there's a couple possible meanings. One of which is the demon has actually taken over Jack now. That's one popular theory.
That could be one, yeah.
Another one is that he's just gone absolutely batshit insane.
I like that idea.
I honestly like the idea that he just went batshit crazy way more.
Sought for fame, and what he got famous for was what he's gonna be remembered for is being absolute batshit crazy.
Yeah, I feel like that. I much prefer that as an ending versus he's now the new host of Mr. Wriggles.
Because I feel like it's been done before, the possession carries on.
Yeah, although I do have to ask, if he did get possessed by Mr. Wriggles, do you think that he would still call it Mr. Wriggles?
It'd be kind of funny if the adult man kept the same. I feel like he'd be asking more questions like, "What's your actual name? I'm not calling you Mr. Wriggles."
Yeah, literally. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, I'm not calling you this.
Personally, if I was possessed by a demon that was once possessing a child, I'd be like, I ain't calling you that.
Literally.
Like I get it. Like, I'm technically your property now, but
I'm not. Yeah, I would be like, I'm not calling you Mr. Wriggles, dude. Like, hell no.
And this I feel like this brings us to the next thing. We're pretty well, I think we're wrapping up here. So I feel like, what do you think your survival chances in this is?
See, so at first glance, there's some things there's some caveats here. Am I a person that is just in the audience, or am I one of the people that's brought on? If I'm one of the people that's brought on, 100% I'm dead. I'm cooked. Like, there ain't no way. If I'm one of the random people in the audience, I think a couple of them made it out.
Oh, yeah. Here's my thing. If I'm a person in the audience, and the second I see Christu start projectile vomiting, and in the condition he's in, after speaking with the dead, I'm like, all right, that's my time. The psychic got some spiritual STDs. I'm out.
Yeah, literally. I even if I were to stay for that, if I were to stay past that, which honestly, I'm a curious person by nature, I would stay because that's just who I am. But as soon as I see the fucking demon levitate, the little girl no, I'm out. I'm leaving immediately. I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna run to the bathroom, and I'm running out of the building.
I got it. That's an example. Like, I got more than my money's worth tonight. I'm out.
Yeah, literally. I'd be like, hell no, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah, that's just an insane thing. One of the other things that I want to put in here, because I feel like it's something that's worth being put in. This movie was such highly acclaimed. It has a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh.
Which is very high. And an 82 for the 97 is for critics.
Yeah.
and then an 82 for audience.
And again, I feel like this movie got weighed down in the audience category there, because if those who don't know how Rotten Tomatoes work, it's not an exact score of that specific movie. It's more of a percentage of how many people gave it a positive review. So in this case, 90. What was the critic score again?
97.
So 90%, 97% of those critics gave positive reviews, and then
Yes.
vice versa for the audience. And I feel like a big thing they weighted down is the controversy. People, I feel like, might have just they might have hated on it and just gave it a bad review because of its use of AI without watching the film. That's a very high possibility because this movie came out very close to the strikes that happened in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it's a fair point again, but like I like to think it's a double-edged sword, because even with the media, or not the media, even with the AI being in there, let's say if they didn't go down the AI route, indie movies kind of take advantage of like younger people in the industry looking for work. So it's either someone uses AI and someone still gets paid to at least try to fix up the AI, or some person gets paid nowhere near what the money's worth and is somehow left out of like royalties and stuff because they were just taken advantage of. It's a shitty market, but it's lesser of two evils in this case.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That is all we have for tonight, today, whatever time you are listening. We'd like to thank you, and we will welcome you back to the graveyard. So please join us, and don't trip on any of the dead on your way out.
Come back next week, everybody. We got a spine tickling, blood gushing, skin ripping episode coming up for you. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week. Have a good night.
See you next week. Good night, everybody. Good day. I don't know where we're at anymore.
I don't know either.